So let's talk a little bit about statistics. I'm going to briefly go through some statistics here about the continent of Europe, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the persuasion lessons behind it. So basically, I'm just going to have to read from a screen here. Europe has 12% of the world's population, 25% of the world's GDP, and 60% of the world's spending on welfare. Think about that. I'm going to read it out again because it's so important. 12% of the world's population, 25% of the world's GDP, and 60% of the world's spending on welfare. In other words, 60% of all the money that's being spent on welfare in the world is being spent on 12%. Or 60% of the world's welfare is being spent on less than 1/6 of the world's population, which is pretty crazy, and which indicates really, I mean, it sounds like we're running an old retirement home here. It sounds like Europe is this sick, limping dog that's half blind and half deaf, that can't even run anymore, that walks around and hobbles and constantly poops itself, and is so discombobulated and disoriented it doesn't even know where to go. This does not bode well. Now, this is not going to be some sort of a political doomsday podcast where I'm going to describe all the bad things that's going to happen, because number one, I didn't know. Number two, I can't predict the future. Number three, I don't want to go down these rabbit holes because they're so depressing, really, quite literally. However, let's talk about persuasion and sales. It doesn't bode well for anybody who plans to live in Europe long term if things don't course change or course correct. I think we can all be honest about that. I mean, would you want to move to a place that you can see is going down the drains? I personally wouldn't. Now, I happen to be quite risk averse. I also happen to be having instead of a 1 day perspective, I have a 5-year perspective, or a 10-year perspective, or some such. I have a long-term perspective on things. So I look ahead. And here's the point. Here's the persuasion lesson in this. And this is very, very important, especially if you're selling to people who are skeptics like me. You convince people like me, the skeptics, by throwing cold, hard facts, statistics that are indisputable in my face, so that I can work out what they mean inside my own head. Nothing is as powerful as the sale that I'm arriving to in my own head. With the vision that I'm creating, thanks to Jim Camp for teaching me this, nothing is as powerful as the sale that I'm arriving to in my own head with the vision that I'm creating in my own mind. Nothing. You can say all you want, but if I'm convinced because I read a word or a statistic and I processed that in my mind, and that led me to believe X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to believe X, Y, and Z, and you can't do anything about it. And that's why many times, actually, if you want to sell to the skeptics like me, you don't need any flashing lights and cool clips and intense music and whatever. You don't need the polished, glossed over version either of and the smooth videos and the nice graphics and whatever. We don't really care. We just want the facts. You can literally write the facts on a white sheet of paper with a black font, and that's it. These are the facts about Europe. That's what, and this is what's going to happen. Or not even that. These are the facts about Europe. Now I can work out the consequences on my own. Or, this is what happens when you don't train. Or, this is what happens when you eat bad foods all day long. This is what happens when you drink 10 liters of coffee a day. Stuff like that. I just need the facts. And when I do have the facts, I'm being sold to. That's the most powerful. That lesson right there is literally worth thousands of dollars if you know how to apply it right. I'm not joking around. Me personally, I've invested thousands of dollars simply because I've been sold to like that across over the years. No joke. Using statistics, facts, and cold hard raw logic. That's what makes me emotional and prone to be persuaded, so to speak. And let that be the lesson of this video. If you want to learn more about persuasion, get subscribed to my email list. The link to do so is in the episode description, and I'll see you there.